In today's episode, we are joined by second time guest and the guy that's continuing to grow along with his team, the Pollo Campero brand in the United States. He and I talk a lot about what sustainable growth looks like, how to enter new markets with a brand that may not be recognizable in a certain region, and how they continue to engage with their guests using modern platforms to ensure that their franchisees and their brand itself is sustainably growing across the US. If you don't know me, my name is Jeremy Julian. I am the Chief Revenue Officer for CBS North Star. We sell the North Star point of sale solution for multi units. Please check us out at cbsnorthstar.com. And now, on to our episode. Welcome back to the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast. I thank everyone out there for joining us. Longtime listeners will recognize the face and/or the name. But, we've got a familiar story, but I'm excited to share some of the things that have been going on within the world of Pollo Plus. You want to introduce yourself real quick because you've got a fantastic history both with that brand and a little bit of background, and then we can talk for those that are less familiar with the brand that you're working with now. So why don't you give everybody a little bit of an introduction to you and your history, and then let's talk a little bit about what you've been up to most recently.
Thanks, Jeremy. It's great to be here. A little bit about my background. I'm the Vice President of Franchise Development. So I've been in that role for the last little over 3 years. Before that, I was 15 years as the Director of Finance here at Pollo Campero. So I'll be hitting my 18th anniversary actually in February next month. I've been here since the beginning when we opened our first restaurants here in the US in the office. So it's been a great ride, great growth. Before I was in various industries, in the beverage industry, the oil and gas, and the real estate, and then I did public accounting. So I had a well-rounded background, but really at the end of the day, I love the brand and the restaurant industry most. So I'm most excited, and especially here at Pollo Campero, since our beginning here in the U.S. as far as our operations and our office in 2007, we've been really excited about the growth, especially in 2024. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, and again, like I said at the beginning, longtime listeners will remember you and I think Jose were on the air back in 2022, and I guess since then, why don't you talk a little bit about how the brand has evolved and how it's changed a little bit for those that heard that show 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and where we're at now, and then we'll get into digging a little bit deeper into kind of what is Pollo Campero for those that had heard that and are looking to see what the new and exciting things that you guys have going on are.
Yeah, when we look back the last couple of years, the last time we were on the show, we're coming out of the pandemic. So we had to go through a different mindset during the pandemic, and then you had to pivot to come out of that. So what happened during that phase is we really came out stronger out of the pandemic. We were able to really implement a lot of great initiatives, whether it's the mobile app, third party delivery. We were optimizing our kitchen. We wanted to make sure that we reduced the number of steps our employees were taking. We spent a lot of time and effort with customer experience. We expanded that program significantly so that we would respond 100% to all the comments that we received, whether it was on social media or directly through our website. So we did a lot of initiatives during that phase. We also looked at opportunities to grow the brand. During the pandemic, we weren't necessarily growing. We wanted to plan the growth. And unfortunately, it kind of halted us for about a year. But we still had the plans in place to really accelerate the brand. So from 2022 to today, we're at 121 units. I think back then we were probably in the 80s
Yep, I
number
think
of
it was
units.
78 or 82, something like that, somewhere around
Yeah.
there.
So you can see that we've really been able to grow the brand during those last 2 3 years. We've also been able to enter new markets. We grew in, Orlando. We expanded significantly in Miami. We expanded in Manhattan and New York City. We were there, but we expanded a lot more. And then I think last time we talked about, we were looking at Southern California, mostly Anaheim, Orange County area. So we built units there. In fact, we're going to open an Anaheim location next month, which is exciting. We love the California market. We've been there the longest since 2002. We were able to do that. We also were able to hire talent as part of the growth engine. You need to make sure that you have the right people in place and they have the right tools. So we invested in people and tools and processes and procedures to really allow us to grow.
Mm.
So those were the initiatives that we did that allowed us to really grow to last year where we had 29 units. So that's something that really we hit out of the ballpark, for lack of better words, where we had been 5 to 10 units during the prior 10 to 12 years. We really hit it where we exceeded not only what we've done historically, but it also allowed the platform for our growth going forward. And this year is another year. When you look at what you delivered last year, that's something that is parked and filed away. So now it's what are you going to do for us this year?
Mhm.
And we're excited because we continue to see that not only are we growing as a brand and we're growing as far as our people and giving them opportunities, but we're also seeing the brand recognition. And
Yeah.
I think since the last 2 or 3 years, we have seen a lot more brand recognition, not only when I go out to shows and conferences, but also when we go out and look at development opportunities. Now, brokers and landlords and real estate developers know who we are. So it's a long answer, but because we've done so much, it's something that we have been able to accomplish. And we also know that we still need to deliver the results and also deliver an opportunity for new consumers to come and try us.
Yeah. So for those that haven't gotten a chance to try, you guys are getting to a place where the brand is recognizable. I can tell you truthfully, other than the fact that I had moved to DFW and this is your US based headquarters, prior to being here, I didn't know who you guys were. You'd reached out to be on the show. Excited to have you guys on and learn the story. But now it feels like I see you guys everywhere. So for those that have yet to get to the place where they've been able to experience what you guys have to offer, walk our listeners through what is the experience. Is it just your standard chicken place? I know it's not, but I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what makes Pollo Campero unique and different that has such a cult following, quite frankly. Because the part that I love about it, and we'll talk a little bit about how that continues to travel, but when you talk to people about it that have experienced it, they're like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. So if you could give us just a few minutes on what is the experience when guests come in.
Yeah, and really, what it is, Jeremy, it's really our roots, which are in Central America and Guatemala. We've been around over 50 years, so it's not a brand that is new. It has been in the US since 2002. And when I talk to people about what does Pollo Campero mean to me or to you possibly as a new consumer, it really brings an opportunity to bring the flavors of Central America. It also allows to bring the culture of family and friends to the brand. We believe strongly in family meals. We believe in strongly in having the more the merrier. Eating at the table, it's something where we tend to share and enjoy different flavors. So the brand is beyond just here's your food, eat it and leave. No, it's we want you to enjoy visiting our restaurants, which means we you have to get a great customer experience from our employees. You have to visit clean restaurants, lit execution, operational excellence is very important. But we also want you to take a little bit of who we are, which is founded in Guatemala, great food, great recipes, great flavor. And at the end of the day, it's the tender, crunchy, juicy fried chicken that everyone craves because to your point, once you taste it, you become somewhat addicted to that flavor, and it's something that you want to have on a regular basis for those that have had it. And that's what has led to the nostalgic appeal of Pollo Campero, especially to Central Americans who have come from Central America
Mhm.
to the US. It brings back a little bit of their home country, their home feelings, their nostalgic background when they experienced it growing up, but we're also allowing future generations here in the US of Central Americans and crossover consumers who may not be to really enjoy what we're all about. And it's like having a Thanksgiving dinner at the table where you have everyone around, everyone's sharing sides, everyone's enjoying the food, everyone's talking. Everyone loves the ambiance of the restaurant and the colors and just the service level. So we really focus on bringing a little bit of home and what we're all about in Guatemala. And that's really what's been successful for us as we transition into new markets and grow the base, not only where we've been historically, but into future markets as we go. So it's been a great story. And I can tell you this everybody who I talk to really loves the food, really loves the ambiance, really loves to visit our restaurants. And there's a great energy that we want to create when people come to our restaurants.
Yeah, and I know you and I talked prior to hitting the record button about our team down in El Salvador, and they just love because I know you guys have got a Central American presence, and our team in El Salvador just loves your guys' product down there as well. When they come to visit, it's one of the places that they like to go to because they get a taste from home while they're here in the States. So help me understand how you guys consider new markets because I've been in the space as you have for a long time, and I've watched brands go into new markets and fail. I've watched brands go into new markets and take over. You talk about the growth. You talk about the fact that you guys have expanded since we talked just a couple of years ago into at least 4 new markets that I know of and have been successful. Talk to me as the guy that's in the tip of that spear. How do you consider that? And how do you consider going into a new market where Pollo Campero is not a name that is a known name brand everywhere, or it might be in a very small subsegment, but you can't just sell to Central Americans in New York, or you can't just sell to Central Americans and still make a living. So help me understand, what types of things do you guys consider, and what is the thought process behind going into new markets for our listeners that are out there?
Yeah, the new markets, we think of it very carefully. We have a lot of demographic information, site analytics software that lets us know where do people live, what's a growth projection. But we also know where we've been successful. So what we try to do is grow adjacent to where we're at. We don't necessarily want to go everywhere immediately. We would love to, but it's not feasible. It doesn't make sense. So what we try to do is focus on what are areas around where we're currently successful. Is there a market for that? Is there an ability to expand? Yes. The other thing that we look at, which we tend to know where our current customers are coming to. For example, coming from, we have a Rogers, Arkansas location. We know people come from Omaha, Nebraska, from Kansas City. They drive hundreds of miles to come eat our
Oh,
chicken.
wow.
We have data that proves it to us. We have people that go from Salt Lake City to Denver to Las Vegas because that's the closest store. We have people in Phoenix that go to Los Angeles. So what we try to do is we already have the footprint across the U.S. of where we exist.
Hmm.
How do we fill in those markets where we're not too far out of our comfort zone as far as where we're successful, but we tap into new consumers? So that allows us by knowing who comes and visits us, where they're coming from. So it makes it a little bit easier. For example, when we're going into Tampa, we know that people travel from Tampa all the way down to Miami, and now they go to Orlando. So Tampa would be a very easy opportunity for us to go in the market. Now we're probably going to expand as we go north. We also tend to want to go in areas where there's economic growth, population growth, that we know people are relocating maybe from California to different parts of the nation. We also know that the Southeast region, which we're heavily going to be developing not only in Miami, but Atlanta, and we have a franchise in North Carolina and Tennessee, they consume chicken at the highest percentage.
Uh-huh.
So we want to be in that market because we believe there's enough room for all of us. So there's different variables that we use to say, is it economic sense? Is our core customer there? Or do we have people traveling far away to some of our existing stores? Is it a business friendly environment? Is there a situation where we have a following of Campero fans that exist? Maybe they're not the biggest, but they do travel, but they eventually become ambassadors of the brand. And that's where it helps us deliver the experience to people who don't know us because they might know family members, they might be married to somebody, or they travel like yourself, maybe to Central America. And you say, I've seen that brand, I've experienced it in Central America, and now they're here locally. Whereas maybe you wouldn't have thought about it in the past because we weren't there. And of course, everything goes through site analytics as far as what's the 5 year look like, who lives here, our core customers here are non-core, retail competitors. So we look at all that. And at the end of the day, we do our best to make sure that we have the best site, that we're not out positioned when we build that location where we're going to be. We don't want to be out positioned by competitors. So we want to make sure that we're in the right spot. And that's been successful for us in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I love the idea that you have, that you guys go site adjacent, meaning it's within kind of a local regional area. Talk to me a little bit about how you guys even consider supply chain. I've got some good friends that are at In and Out. Over the years. They've grown from California and they continue to come east. And they always, because of kind of their product and the way that they went about it, needed to stay close to one of their distribution centers. Help me understand, because you guys are really taking ultimately the flavors of Central America and bringing them to the States, and then trying to figure out how to distribute them across to all of the different regions. How do you guys build that into both the planning and truly ensuring that you're getting the right product into all of these places at the right time? Because without the right flavor profiles, people are going to come to one in Miami and one in Dallas and one in LA. And if they're not the same, they can be like, maybe I don't trust that site.
Great question. The beauty about our brand, we've been with trusted suppliers, whether it's the breading or the chicken suppliers for many years. So they've known the brand before really we came into the US, simply because they work with our Central American counterparts. The thing about supply chain is the availability, the cost, the transportation, how close are you to some of these distribution centers? So we made a decision a couple of years ago because we were limited to where we could go. We couldn't go
Mhm.
to every city we wanted to, simply because it would have taken a shipment too long to get there, and there would have been a cost. It would have been cost prohibitive. So we aligned ourselves with an association that allows us to go throughout the US. So, depending on the part of the US that we want to go, there's already an associated dedicated supplier of this association that would be our primary supplier for Pollo Campero. So, it's the flexibility we're looking, but the consistency of having one person to go reach out to, and this is what we're doing without having to go to different suppliers because they're all connected through an association. So that helped us expand and also helped us reduce our cost,
Yeah.
because now we're not having to ship chicken from Arkansas to Minnesota or those kind of things. We already have a dedicated supplier and provider up in the Midwest, upper Midwest, where they have been there. They're successful. They're the biggest player because each region has big players, but they're not big players all over the US.
Yes.
Versus one big player throughout the US maybe can't service in the smaller towns or in areas. They're just not going to focus on certain areas because it doesn't make economic sense for them. And
Yeah, they might not be able to, a national supplier might not be able to, because you only have 1 or 2 stores in that region. They're not gonna stock your product because it's
exactly.
just really hard for them. I love that idea, and I think that as part of your role and the people that are on your team, it's brilliant that you guys have figured that out because, again, I've watched other brands not execute in that way, and then they struggle because the product's different or they go with a national supplier, which is great, but then nothing against pizza places, but the pepperoni is different between 2 different brands and 2 different
Right.
regions, and ultimately the product is different that way. I'm gonna change a little bit of the thought process. You talked about generational engagement into the brand. Talk to me a little bit about how you guys have invested to ensure that you guys are not only getting the people that might have moved here 20 years ago from Central America that are familiar with the brand, but the 18 to 30-year-old demographic that everybody's trying to hit. We know that demographic is high spenders and they will continue to be high spenders. How have you guys ensured that you guys are hitting that market, not just the 40 something and 50 something year old? Not that there's anything wrong with them because they're also fantastic buyers, but you got to make sure that you're youthful so that you're growing the customer base with some of that younger consumer. How have you guys thought about that, both digitally from a technology perspective, and then really even just from a brand?
That's a great question, simply because we looked at studies and we know Generation Z by 2030 will be have the biggest purchasing power.
Yep.
So we realized early on that we needed to focus on the next generation. We have the millennials, we have Generation Z. So we've done a lot and this is something that everyone's doing. Social media has taken off over the last couple of years, actually 4 or 5 years. We've done a lot with Instagram and Facebook and that, but we've also worked with influencers in the different markets that we work. We also wanted to be tech savvy with our mobile app. We've had it since before the pandemic. We've optimized that where it recognizes who you are. It treats you like a person as opposed to just a number come in and join. We actually personalize it with your birthdays, your name. We remind you. We also want to be active in the communities that we work and we serve our products. So we have a big local store marketing program, which actually touches the different areas that we operate. And a lot of them are people that are young, people that want to know who you are, whether we have some restaurants by universities. So we focus on that. We have restaurants by schools, by hospitals, whatever. So we really target a lot of local store marketing. And then with the national platform is where we have the social media, the Facebooks, the Instagram, the engagement piece where we want people to feel it's their brand. And if you've seen some of these Instagram and influencers, they're eating foods from all over the world.
Yep.
So we are able to showcase our food, which is in Central America. It's a flavor of the world, and introduce it to them in a way that they want to try it. It's different. We know that younger generations have a different palate and different interests in food and diversity and menu innovation. So there's flavors that 30 years ago we were more focused on maybe the American food palette. Now it's more of an international palette, and it could be any kind of food, whether it's Central American, South American, Asian, you name it, Middle Eastern, Mediterranean. So we are also in a great position as a brand to demonstrate that we belong in that arena of taste profile, of flavor, of showing you what our cuisine is all about. And it's been very successful. And also, we have a great young team who's connected in the marketing department. So they're not old like me.
Yeah, or me with all my gray
Exactly.
hairs on my chin here.
So they have a pulse on the consumer and what their friends and what they grew up with. So they're almost a focus group within our organization that says, here's the trends that we're looking at. And of course, we look at research and all that. So we also partner up with our agencies so that we have a holistic approach, not only here, but with our Central American counterparts, because they also have part a say so in what we do internationally in the global iconic brand, that there are things that maybe we can share best practices. So those are the different levers that we've been pulling from a marketing perspective. And you know how it is, it's a moving target.
Hmm.
You're going to have to move. There's going to be TikTok came out of nowhere the last 3 years. So yes, we're focused on some of those initiatives and all that. And then one of the things that we like to do is the new store openings. We love to bring as many people as we can. So we really do a lot to promote the new store openings, whether it's Manhattan, Orlando, Los Angeles, Dallas, what have you. So we make a big push for local store marketing during the new store opening. We have the golden ticket. If you're one of the first 100 that show up there, and we do that through social media to come to our new store, you get a free meal every week for a year. So those are the kind of initiatives. And we have, again, the influencer come and try our food and really write their comments and review about what they feel and what they taste.
Yeah, you talked a little bit earlier as well about getting feedback because one of the things that we know that Gen Z wants is they want a voice in the brand. They want to be heard. And if they put something out, whether it be on social media, on a review site, or even engage with the brand and they don't hear back, they'll turn it off even if the food was great. Strategically, how have you guys dealt with that?
We have a dedicated customer experience program. So that department has grown significantly over the last 5 years. Before the pandemic, it was something that was starting out. It's something that we need to focus on. Now it's a full representation of not only the customer, but also the employee, because we want to make sure the brand is successful. When you have happy customer, happy employees makes the brand successful. So we understand that. So we've made an effort to ensure that we're aligned with our customers and our employees. We've also, as a customer experience department, and is focused on responding to 100% of the
Yep.
reviews, the feedback. Now, like any other chain, another not 100% are going to be happy, and we understand that. But we want to make sure that we feel how they experienced. What was their feeling? What was their emotion when they went to the restaurant and they didn't have the best, or they had the best experience? So we have dedicated people who follow up with them. How can we help? How can we make it better? How can you give us another opportunity? And we work very hard, Jeremy, to make sure that we have a connection with that consumer. We don't want anyone ever to leave disappointed, unhappy. Initially, they might do that, but when you pick up the phone and you talk to them or you email, majority of the people will give you a second chance.
Yeah, they want to be heard and they want to be heard. And if they engage and you don't acknowledge them and do something about it, they'll turn you off. But if you do, oftentimes they'll come back.
Yeah, and the majority of the complaints are not the food. It's really the customer experience.
Yep.
It's out of 15, I think, one's food review that's negative versus 14 that are, my experience was this order accuracy or rudeness of the employee, whatever it is. So we understand that, and we do a lot for training purposes to make sure that our people are empowered to make decisions out at the restaurant. So if something's not working at the restaurant and they can change it immediately, that's what we want to empower them.
Love
And
that.
that's why we give them the authority to do that, as opposed to I got to check with my manager, my area manager. Can I give them a free drink? No, make
Just
it
take care of
right
the customer.
immediately. And that really has been successful for us.
I love that. When we were last on, the consumer behaviors were also changing. Back in 2021, 2020, most brands, it was in person. There was in person or a drive through, but there wasn't as much digital ordering. There wasn't as much third party ordering. There wasn't all of those things rushed into the scene through the pandemic. You guys had the app, but talk to me about how you even address those challenges because some of it is out of your control. The guest doesn't show up on time. And just, and I guess even for our listeners that are out there, if you're at liberty to share, what was the in person takeout dine in experience versus third party and away from the restaurant prior to 2020 and what is it now? Has it grown? Because almost every brand that I talk to that's on the show, it's most of the time grown double digits and sometimes doubled and tripled what used to be on prem. Now, so much of it's moving, which changes really even your go to market strategy and how you guys are going to package the food and how you're going to deal with guest complaints and those kind of things. So, I'd love to talk a little bit about that and what learnings have you had over the last couple of years for our listeners that might be out there operating restaurants and still struggling to figure it out. And now, a word from one of our sponsors. Every restaurant operator understands the chaos of a restaurant kitchen during the meal rush. Restaurant Technologies Total Oil Management Solutions is an end-to-end automated oil management system that delivers, filters, monitors, and recycles your cooking oil, taking the dirtiest jobs out of your kitchen and letting your employees focus on more important tasks. Control the kitchen chaos with Restaurant Technologies and make your kitchen safer. No upfront cost. To learn more, check out rti-inc.com or call 888-796-4996.
Yeah, we, as most people during the pandemic, we really were fortunate to have all the tools and all the applications ready for third party delivery, pickup, curbside. We had all that in place. And you're right, we went to definitely over 70% drive through and pickup and curbside. What we've seen, it's funny because we're social people in the sense that
Yes.
initially everyone thought, you know what, shrink the dine in. No one's going to want to come in. They don't have time for this. And what we have found is that people are reverting back to pre pandemic and saying, it's an opportunity to have a meal with my children without getting interruptions. In other words, they're not looking at their phone. We're focused on, we're enjoying family quality time.
Mhm.
When you're at home, you tend to look at the phone, text each other, you don't listen to mom and dad or pay attention to sister and brother. But we've seen a slight shift coming back so that the third party and takeout really hasn't continued growing as fast. It's flattened to a certain level. We still have a higher percentage than before, but it hasn't gone to a point where nobody wants to come in and eat.
Love
So
that.
we see a change, and us being a family brand, we understood that we still needed to make sure that we had seating, ample seating for our customers, that we had the experience in the dine-in. And if you don't have time and you want to enjoy it through a drive-through experience or through a delivery or a takeout or curbside, you still have that option. But it went against what everyone thought maybe 2 years
Mhm.
ago, and everyone's slightly coming back to the dining experience. And I've been reading a lot, not only our brand, but other brands where traffic in the dining area has been going up higher than it has, especially on some of these casual brands, casual restaurant brands, that you would think what happened to them and all of a sudden they're on fire. You're
Yep.
like, they're coming back to the restaurant. So we have to make sure that we don't reduce the footprint too much. We have enough seating. We also, when I do our site analytics, we know the family environment in the demographic area that we're going to be in so that we're successful and we can match that. But it's a moving target, Jeremy. It's something that, and maybe not every brand is experiencing that. But in our case, we see the family and people slightly coming back to the restaurant. And I think it makes sense when you've been in the house for a year or a year and a half and you're working from home, there is a life out there.
Mhm.
And when you experience a life out there, it's nice to have that experience because we see people, we talk to people that we normally would not, and we have a different experience. And that's what we've experienced over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I think it's all too true. I think there's so many people that are like, "Oh, just put it all out there and get a ghost dining room, no dining room at all." And to your point, it's a testament to who the brand is and what you guys stand for. One last question, just because it continues to come up, and we're 30 minutes into this. What are you guys thinking of kind of automation and AI, how it will impact Pollo Campero as a brand. Anything from automated fryers and automated drink machines to kiosks or drive-through timers. Help me understand how you guys consider those things, because everybody's trying to figure out what the next thing is that they need to invest in to keep up with the Joneses, and at the same time not lose their soul of who they are.
I mentioned it earlier. We spent a couple years on doing optimization of the back of the house. How many steps does it take our employees to make the product? How efficient are they in the assembly line? What's the throughput? So we really focused on that. Then we said, what are the technologies necessary to make sure they have the tools? So yeah, it's simple, like KDS systems. We have the kiosk where it makes sense. For example, Jeremy, we're going to be opening in Penn Station next month, so we know that people are on the go, they don't have time. So we're going to line up the wall with kiosks, probably 7 kiosks along there. And then we'll have somebody, a couple of people dedicated, but they're just in a rush. So
Mhm.
we also did that. We also have focused on third party data driven, where are people coming from, where are they coming from, and where are they going after they visit our store, so we can understand the dynamics behind that and maybe market, whether it's lunch, dinner, between meals, a drive through is makes sense, or in dining. The famous being able to read your license plate and being able to identify it's Jeremy, you're here. Last time you ordered 20-piece chicken meal. Can we get you the same thing? So we are testing some of those. We do have the digital menu boards across the whole portfolio of restaurants. So we've been there. We've also looked at the mobile app. How can we optimize that, make it more engaging, capture more data, so we know when you're in the restaurant? By coincidence, I was in the restaurant, all of a sudden on Instagram I'm getting an ad. How do they know I was there? So we're cross-pollinating opportunities when a customer comes in our restaurant, because we know they're going to go home and they're going to look at Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and when our ad pops up there, it's you think it's Big Brother looking at you. So we've done a lot of that. We still have opportunities going forward on equipment. We're looking at some fryers that will allow us to expedite Campero nuggets, where, and also the fillets. The fillets are something that we can automate a little bit faster, because those are things that we normally on we don't necessarily have them available all the time. So we make them as they're ordered, but I think we've come up with some solutions on how do we, with equipment, new equipment coming out with some of the fryers, how can we get them faster? The beverage area is something that's hot. I'm sure you've heard that from other concepts. It's not only how fast you can do it, but the flavors, and people are throwing all
The
sorts of
customization.
flavors and ice and ice cream and coffee. And so we're looking at that, because we believe that is a great driver, especially with the younger generation who loves to have something in between meals, maybe doesn't go through the conventional beverage that we used to drink in the old days, but wants a little bit more flavor. And it's a little bit out there, some of the flavors that are coming out. Those are the things that they're looking at. We're looking at those. We've optimized our tropical drinks that we have at our restaurant, that is more where it's automated and people don't have to fill up the containers. So it's an automated filtered system that is continuously being fed and delivering the beverage. So those, and then lighting, we look at lighting. I think lighting is a very important function of the restaurant. What are some trends in lighting? Nowadays, when you pass by a restaurant, that's one of the first things that attracts you to a restaurant. Look at the great lighting. Look at, I can see inside the restaurant. It looks cool. It
Mhm.
looks bright, vibrant. So we're always looking at that as an opportunity to expand our footprint in the technology and the trends that we're looking at all the time.
Well, I love all of those things, because what I guess I'm hearing as an overall thread is you guys are thriving, but part of why you guys are thriving is you guys are taking the time to invest in site selection, to invest in training your people, to invest in knowing that you need more than just the old people in social media marketing. You need the young people. You're investing in the product innovation. And then the other piece that I love that you talked about is you guys are partnering. You're partnering with suppliers, you're partnering with technology vendors. So to our listeners out there, is that just a cultural thing that you guys do? Because so many brands I see don't do that. And I guess does it just start from the top? Because all too often I find that brands have a fantastic rocket ship and then they struggle and they hit points where they've grown, they've got 200 stores, but then they can't figure out how to get out of their own way. And then they start to close stores. And I'm not downplaying it, but I watch how much you just in the last 2 years have invested in a time where most are like, maybe we shouldn't invest. But I see the benefits of those investments and why it is such an important thing to continue to do to stay on top.
Yeah, we're fortunate in that we have shareholders who have a long-term vision. At the end of the day, if you're going to make this brand successful, you have to do it right and you have to
Mhm,
spend the time, effort, make the commitment. And we're not short-term thinkers around here. We know that there will be missteps along the way. We know that not everything's going to work out. We learn and we move on. So that's exactly why I love this brand, in that we're willing to take calculated risk and we're willing to learn from those and we're willing to get better. The other thing that we do really well is being part of a family business. Really, when you look at suppliers and customers, they're really part of our family. At the end of
mhm.
the day, we don't look at our vendors like we're just paying a bill and you're supplying us. No, we make a concerted effort to have relationships, honesty, transparency, because in one point or another, we're going to need each other. It showed itself during the pandemic. I
Mhm.
cannot tell you how many times, whether it was a landlord, a bank, a supplier, that we were able to pick up the phone and say, how do we work this out? And very few people were against whatever we are trying to accomplish as a brand. And at the end of the day, it's relationships that we try long term. We talk about suppliers. Some of these suppliers have been with us for 30, 40 years.
Mhm.
And as you have a supplier that's trusted, you have the ability to communicate as a family member what you're looking for, what your needs are, without anyone taking it personally or taking it like, what do they know? Because we want to make them better and they want to make us better. So we have really invested in people at the end. And we all know that culture over time, great
Great
culture,
strategy.
breeds success.
Yep, I love it.
And we know that we have to continue doing that, and it starts from the top. So that's where I'm very blessed to be part of this organization. Is that we look at that, we look at the different foots of the stool, as they say, that will make us successful. We've been doing it ever since, and we continue to do it as we move forward with these new markets, new suppliers, new customer base, and new store openings that we have. So
Yeah.
it's a great story for us.
And I appreciate you sharing just because I know that a lot of restaurant brands sit and listen to these shows. And if they can take one thing away from it, I'd love for them to continue to invest in their people so their people invest in the brand so that they can be successful. I know that since I got introduced to the brand a couple years ago when we were on the show, it's been remarkable to watch you guys continue to grow. For those that want to watch that story and continue to watch it unfold, where should they connect with you, connect with the brand, and kind of get to see all of the things that you guys continue to do? What's the best way to stay connected?
We have a website, www.campero.com. We're also part of 1851, which is our portal page with our agency. So we have stories out there. And then when you Google us, and you can find stories, and you can look at my LinkedIn page so you can find a lot about who we are. And I welcome people to join us on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. We have a big following, not only here in the US, but when you look at the broad spectrum of where we're at, we have a huge following throughout Central America. It's amazing how many people, wherever I travel, see my shirt, Pollo Campero, and you're the Campero guy. When are you going to build? Or I love your brand. And I've had people, Jeremy, stop me and say, good chicken, and they walk away.
That's
So I'm like,
amazing.
I don't even have time to thank them. So who are you? I want to give you cards, a gift card. But that's the power of the brand that we have. There are various, and honestly, come visit us at the restaurants.
Mhm.
If you see us, if you drive by or somebody invites you, please come in, enjoy our food, be part of the Campero family. That's all we can ask. Give us a chance, give us a try. And I know that you'll love our food and you'll love our service. And at the end of the day, that's what makes us successful.
Yep, I wholeheartedly agree, and I think at the end of the day, it's such a unique both experience in the store and a unique product that I think it's once you get it, it gets a bit addicting. So you end up craving it, and you have that thought, I gotta have pollo campero. Thank you so much for coming back on the show. Thank you for what you guys continue to do. Thank you for investing in the people. To our listeners, guys, thank you guys for listening, and have a great day.
Thank you, Jeremy.